welcome. You are not looking live at the Calamity Jones Hour. This is a pre-recorded episode. This is the first pre-recorded episode I've ever done in the history of my podcasting, so this is a very, very special episode. I'm going to get right into it, but just so you know, I am Mandy Jones, the comedian. I host 2 podcasts a week. We have the Calamity Jones Hour, which airs every Friday. It's actually not a Friday right now that we're doing this show, but the show will air on June 25th, a Friday. And then we have the Wildflowers, which airs every Wednesday from 7:30 to 8:30. Live interactive podcast where you can type to us on Facebook. Since this is pre-recorded, I will be airing this show through Facebook live, and you guys can comment and stuff, but this is a pre-recorded episode, so we are not neglecting you. I'm going to bring on a very special lady that we've actually been wanting to have on our podcast since the beginning of podcasting, in the history of podcasting that I'm part of, because her story is just really, really special. And, you know, it's funny to have comedians on, but real life is what is happening right now. And that's the really important stuff. So I think you'll understand in like 2 shakes of a lamb's tail why we picked this very special lady and why we had to sit her down for an hour. Like I said, this is going to air on the 25th of June. I believe this is the 42nd episode of the show. I think it's 42, which is, if you're a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy person, would be perfect. Okay, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring on a young lady. She is the proud recipient of a heart transplant. And I really actually should have asked her how to say this properly. Was that correct? Jennifer Lentini.
Yes, it was. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. First of all, we woke you up very early.
Yes,
This is an early show.
Daylight is a little bit early, being a night owl and night worker.
Well, you know,
I am blessed to be on the show during daylight.
I know, I'm so happy to have you. And my husband had told me, you know, quite a while ago, he's like, you should start recording shows the same day as the Wildflowers, so that way you like only have to set the whole show up, because this is my kitchen table that we're at here, so it's a fucking lot of stuff to set up. And I was like, but you know, the live thing is the whole like, you know, experience of it and stuff. But now, like, a lot of, you know, people are busy on Fridays, the world is opening up, and you are actually someone that I've been wanting to have on, but because you work in an industry where you're always you're never available on a Friday night, you know?
That's all good, because things are opening back up. Yes.
Oh, exactly. Okay, so there's more people to help you run the place, you know, as more business grows. But it's just, so that's part of the reason that we had to have you as the pre-recorded first guest of the show. So you are a heart transplant recipient. So I'm going to let you just tell people a little bit about yourself before, like, how would you in a fucking 5-minute, they call it an elevator speech, tell me what that means.
So I will explain it in my 5-minute speech, since I've been speaking since.
Yeah, what's your type 5 on the, give me the type 5 on the.
Type 5 one right now. When I was 13, I was a healthy, normal teenage girl. I have a younger brother who's 7 years younger than I am, and he was born with a hole in his heart.
Oh my God.
So he was always the one in my family that we looked after, and even myself. I was this healthy older sister.
Right.
Which made sense. I was okay. I never even broke a bone. I had my tonsils taken out when I was 12 years old. That's normal routine. I got to eat ice cream. Okay, this
maintenance.
works for me.
I'm on schedule.
I'm good with this. It's normal behavior. Until all of a sudden, I remember I was never an A student, maybe B, you know.
Okay, but studious.
I was studious enough, but I remember being able to, when I was in 7th grade, celebrate my birthday, which is March 4th. And after that, things just started happening very quickly and going downhill. I started having really bad, severe stomach pains. I didn't know why, my parents didn't know why, and it was really hard for both parties because my younger brother was the one we should be focused on. He was born with a hole in his heart. You know, I come from the smallest Italian part Irish family, depending upon
Yeah,
my
that you don't
dad.
find small
No.
Irish families or small Italian families.
Sadly, my grandparents passed before my brother was even born.
Oh, okay.
I have one uncle and an aunt by marriage, my
Okay.
mom, dad, and my brother. And that was it, and a family dog at the time. Well, I actually not at the time, but that was it in my immediate family.
Right.
So I'm now having these bad stomach pains. I'm going to school. The nurse is calling my mom. This girl doesn't want to be in class, I think.
Right, yeah, 13.
That's
It's like, you can manifest illnesses, especially at 13 when you like are anxious and stuff, like you get a stomach ache. Like
it's true.
So so they continue.
You get like, boys are your biggest problem. What are you wearing to school?
Right, yeah, I'm crying. I want to go home. I don't feel well.
And nobody knew why. And then my mom's taking my pediatrician. They're saying, we can't find anything physically wrong with her.
Right. But you know your body.
Yeah, I know I didn't feel good. And my dad, he is the biggest, I love him so much, the biggest mush, knew something was wrong.
Right.
He was upset. My mom too.
Right.
But both parties, it's good because they just didn't know what to do. But my dad was like, there's definitely something wrong. And so did my mom. And it felt like Groundhog's Day. I'm going to the nurse at school. She's sending me home. Now I'm having a pediatrician. They're telling my parents, well, she's 13. Maybe she's going to become a woman.
Yeah, okay.
And so I was like, okay.
Maybe that's like throwing her off hormonally.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe she's just going through her changes.
Right.
But I knew that it was something more than that. I couldn't sleep at night.
Right.
I was having really weird illicit dreams about different things. And I even remember to this day, my parents were outside in the backyard. And I woke up in almost this hysterics that I didn't know where anybody was. And I went out there just to make sure my family was still there. And this happened only about a month.
Yeah.
So I had my birthday March 4th. And finally, after a few weeks of going back and forth to my pediatrician, I was going to emergency rooms.
Yeah.
With the same consensus. And about a month later, finally there was a different person on call at the emergency room. And they told my parents, okay, well, we still don't know what's going on, but she's presenting with stomach pains. So maybe we'll go in and do exploratory surgery, which would make sense.
Right.
Because that's what I was presenting with. And they had told myself and my parents, now I didn't fully understand this at the time.
Right.
Worst case scenario would be that I can't have children when I got older. That maybe my ovaries were twisted. It was hard to hear, but my parents said, okay, well, let's do something to make this girl feel okay.
Right.
Which they just wanted me to be all right.
Right.
And even then they go, well, we still don't know. So we want to do the exploratory surgery to go in and just double check what's happening.
Right.
They end up doing the surgery. During the time, though, I ended up going to cardiac arrest on the table. At this point, didn't even tell my parents. They revived me. I come out, though, of surgery, and I remember my dad saying I looked like one of the floats in the Macy's Day Parade. I was so blown up with fluids.
Oh, my God.
And he said, is my daughter okay? My mom's going, is she all right? They said, yeah, go home because I have a small family. Go be with your son. Somebody was watching him. The poor kid had been going back and forth to different houses.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel good.
Right.
And they go home thinking, okay, we'll come back in the morning. I was sedated. About 2 hours later, they end up calling them and said, your daughter's dying of heart failure. You need to come say goodbye now. They came back with my uncle, my aunt, and a family friend who was a priest. They even bring my brother. And they gave me my last rites.
This is why I freaking brought tissues. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
They gave me my last rites and said, get ready to say goodbye to your little girl. And at that point, I was very fortunate to be in a hospital on Long Island. And there was one doctor there, though, that was affiliated with another hospital in the city. And he said, okay, we're going to stabilize her best we can. All I remember after this, because I did not know what was happening, was I woke up. Now, I'm 13 years old.
Right.
I woke up in this other hospital surrounded by doctors. And the doctor tells me, you're going to need a heart transplant. I said, okay, sign me up. I didn't even know exactly what that was.
Yeah,
I
whatever, dude. Like, whatever the next, like...
What does that mean? I don't know. Let's do this.
Right.
And I'm thinking my younger brother had open heart surgery. It's got to be...
Right.
Similar.
Right, okay. All right, so he had your brother born with a hole in his heart, so they operated as soon as he was born?
When he was 2.
Okay.
They waited just till he was a little bit older.
Okay, because the heart's for him to be a little bit older, for the heart to be stronger. Okay, so you were, what's the age difference there? So you kind of were cognizant of him going through that surgery and stuff.
we're 7 years apart.
Okay, yeah,
So he was 5.
yeah, you
so,
remembered.
about 6.5, 7 years apart. So I remember being there
Right.
and going through with him, going to different places,
right.
and whatever the case was. So I can only imagine for a younger kid,
right,
to be telling this to.
Yeah.
And just being surrounded by all these doctors, I'm like, sign me up. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Right, exactly.
And I didn't know at that point how my life was going to change.
Right.
I always say we have that moment, that defining moment, and I just happened to be very young at that time, and that was my defining moment. And the first thing they do is they give you something called a Broviac tube, which is a permanent IV in your chest, because I needed pumps that were going to pretty much artificially help my heart work. I had gotten something called acute cardiomyopathy, where in transplant worlds, it's very common. Your heart becomes enlarged because of a virus, and they don't know why. They asked me, did I go out of the country? Was I bit by a tick? They can't really ever pinpoint it.
Right.
It's just kind of luck of the draw, and I was the one that ended up getting this. And for my parents, having 2 heart kids was like winning the lotto in a different way. But,
jackpot.
Yeah, 2 heart children now. And they're in this hospital with this Broviac tube, and I couldn't even walk a foot without being in a wheelchair. Just being surrounded by doctors. I wasn't going to be able to leave the hospital, and I'm kind of grateful in a way I was so young, because I don't think I fully understood that I was going to have to wait for someone to pass away for me to live.
Right, the mortality of it. It's just like, okay, when you're 30 or you're 40 and they're like, all right, you need a liver or something, you're like, oh my God, like you have to think, you literally start thinking like that. Yes. Like I'm waiting for people to die and I don't want to think like that.
No,
like,
I was so young.
Like, where it's like over.
Pretty much. And they have you're almost living in your own little bubble hospital world.
Right, exactly.
Meanwhile, you have this tube that you have to be plugged in pretty much every hour on the hour to make sure that if you do walk around, it's like a phone that had to be plugged in even more.
But we were 13, so there were no phones even yet. So you were like so high tech, cutting edge.
High tech back then.
So cutting edge.
You know what? You have to be in life.
Ahead of the curve.
I was ahead of all the curves in some regard. I was the popular one, right? And I'm walking around now. I just remember that they make it as normal as it can be.
Right, because they're like, just destigmatize it, let it, because you have to. You have to, like, a 13-year-old kid be a 13-year-old fucking kid.
Yeah, and I had my pumps, and you start out with 2 pumps, I ended up with 3 pumps. Towards the end, I was at 4 pumps. But you go to school there, I mean, it's very different school. The only thing I remember...
It's more like COVID school.
Yeah, if you felt good, they bring you down to the school. If they don't, they come up. But you have to actually switch. I'm from Hicksville originally, and that's where I was brought up and everything, and my parents still live there. And they switch you over to the hospital school, which is a city school. My teachers are still talking to them, and the only thing I remember is writing a report on the zoo, because I loved animals then. And aquarium zoos.
So you passed all the grades with that one.
How are you going to tell the transplant girl that's probably,
we already read you your last rites. You get an A.
You're going to get an A on whatever you write down. I played Oregon Trail. I remember thank goodness for Child Life, because
what is that?
Now in the hospitals, you get to go there, and they had like arcade games.
Okay.
They'd bring you Nintendo, and they would come visit you. We'd have tea every Friday, and it was very cute. If you felt good, that was the thing. It's like, okay, so some days you're not so good. And what's going on? And when you actually had that little moment of clarity.
Right. You got to go.
You got to be a little bit free.
Right.
And the doctors didn't love it. And even now, my mom always jokes and said, she goes, you just never listen. You never listen to us. You never listen to them. We used to have these telemetry units attached to us to make sure that it was checking our EKGs and our heart rates. I would teach all the newbies that would come on the floor. If you take it off and you shake it, sometimes if you really need something, they'll come. But sometimes they didn't come. I said, I don't know. It depended upon what happened. And even there, it's so funny because you're attached to all these IVs. I even have some pictures when I was waiting.
Yes,
this is my brother and I. And this was after, I was in the hospital for a while, because the days become into weeks turn into months. Yeah. This was towards the end of my thing where they actually let me outside a little bit.
Yeah, oh my God. And what, are you guys eating popcorn there?
Probably. He looks like he's gonna hit me like normal. I even was cool wearing sunglasses.
Oh yeah,
back
so
then.
now this is you. This is after all of this.
No, this is me waiting for my transplant.
Waiting for transplant. Yeah, you know, and just enjoying the freaking moment. You have to.
You really do. And my rooms are decorated. If they ever had to move a room,
Yeah.
I'd be upset, and they'd be upset because now they have to move all this stuff. But
Oh, the collage kid. We got to move the collage kids room.
Balloons. That's why I still have an obsession with balloons. I've been getting them since I'm young.
Oh, okay.
I just, FYI, anybody, get a balloon, I'll be very happy.
Now I know. I would have had balloons here. I really would have.
Okay. Now we all know.
There's always not a time for next time.
Party. You can never have enough. And as you're going through these moments, I still remember even to this day that I was on the floor and this one handsome kid to me walks in. He was tall and he needed a transplant as well, but he walked in with no pumps, and then they were giving him pumps, and I said, "Wow, you could walk?" I was in this wheelchair. To me, that was like the greatest thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was super fortunate that my parents are, and I know everybody says their parents are amazing, but
yeah.
My mom would be at home. My brother come during the day to be with me. My dad was at work, then would stay the night with me.
Yeah.
In hospital beds, they were sleeping there. My brother, they even had to make the kid get poor vaccines that he probably wouldn't have to.
Yeah, right. So that he would have admittance to see you and have time together and all be together.
Yeah, and he got the chickenpox vaccine right at that cusp.
Yeah.
When everybody started, it was not even really a thing yet, but the only way he could come in was because of this. So this poor little kid now is like, oh, let me go. I have to go get all this stuff done just to see my sister who's in the hospital being shoved around.
Right, right.
And I appreciate that now more when I'm older.
Right, right.
But it's definitely a whirlwind when you're in this hospital thing at such a young age. And I remember my friend Larry that I was talking about, my tall, dark, and handsome guy with pumps that could be standing though, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Our parents would sneak us over to the adult side of the hospital, even though I think the nurses knew, but to us they didn't.
Yeah.
So they would bring us over, and it was like the promised land. You got a hot dog there, and you see all these people, and then you have to plug in again. And it was just, those memories are good, but then in essence, your IVs are always being changed.
Yeah.
You have different blowouts with medicine. You got sicker as you were going, and I think towards the end I started to understand what was happening. And even in the hospital, there was a couple of calls when I was there, and one time they even called me to the phone, because back then we didn't have cell phones,
right
beepers. And they're telling me now, meanwhile I'm the patient, 13, we think we got a heart for you, and then an hour later they said, oh no, it's not for you, it's for another person.
Oh, that's so horrible. Oh my God. And who was making that call? Like, oh, by the way, like, freaking, like, that's crazy.
And I love my nurses and my doctors and everybody's great, but there's always little things that happen. And I was fortunate though that they made my hospital stay the best as it could be.
Right,
but
right.
Once weeks started to turn into months and whatnot, at that point I got scared again. Even my parents, I remember them telling them, which sounds so strange.
Yeah.
If you talk about this in a normal setting.
Right.
Oh, around July 4th, it's a holiday. People pass away.
Yeah.
So that's a good time to get a transplant. But when you think about it in real world, you're talking about something bad to happen. Right.
For something good, for more good life to live, to create life has to end. And it's my boss my first boss when I was like my first 40-hour week job, he wasn't even supposed to be alive by the time I met him. He was a liver transplant recipient, and he was a smoker and a drinker, and they're like, dude, we're not giving you a freaking liver, you're gonna abuse it. And so he left New York. He actually went to Indiana University Hospital, and the doctor was looking out the window, and it was raining, and he says, they'll be coming in, like, because it's a no helmet state, and guys ride motorcycles and there's no helmets, so it's organ donor paradise, like, which is crazy, you know. So your rebirth is coming up. So does that mean the 4th of July actually was like related? It wasn't in my case, right? But a lot of organs do come in, and just to bring back quickly, as you were saying, certain states are very different, and I'll talk about numbers later because this is why I speak too. We need to change New York's
numbers immensely.
Right.
But I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But for me, they actually around July 4th told my parents they hope an organ came in because at that point I was just getting really sick and I was on my
Yeah.
5th pump.
And they were just saying there is hope. Things people do.
Yeah, and they told my parents though that if I didn't get an organ pretty soon at that point, there was nothing else they could do.
Right.
And I was fortunate that the 4th of July passed. I love fireworks, and I think that's just something because of that. And I will say, at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, you do have a nice view of the fireworks. If you look at positives of things.
Yeah.
And just a beautiful view of the Hudson and whatnot. So that's probably why I'm obsessed with a lot of things I don't realize until you told me about it.
Right.
Blowing up stuff before. And they really were ready again to say goodbye to their little girl.
Right.
And I know it was funny, but my mom, they would take turns. My dad and my mom, who was staying over.
Right, who had the strength, who was with your brother,
exactly.
They're trading off.
My uncle stayed with me a few times. My aunt would come. And sadly, even when I was there, parents didn't want their kids to come visit me in the hospital. I had maybe a handful of people, if that, because a lot of parents were scared that if I passed away, how do they explain it to their kids? Or that I was contagious. There was
right. And even walking into a hospital, me as an adult, like I told my friend recently, she was near death, and I told her, I said, I didn't visit you in the hospital, right? And she's like, no. I said, I don't like hospitals, and I wasn't ready to lose you. I said, I knew you were fucking coming back out of the hospital. Like, I was not gonna fucking visit you and say, and God forbid, thank the Lord that she was okay, because I would never have forgiven myself. But I was like, I'm not bringing a child to see your friend, like, it's just, the parents weren't emotionally ready to explain it to their kids, like.
And it's hard. It's not easy to go through that process with everything. And now I understand it more. But even then, I was grateful for who I had and child life. If my parents couldn't be there, they were there for me. They even made me a sign because I would tell the doctor, "Don't bother me during my child lifetime. Don't bother me during this time." I had a board. This is Gen time. And that's what we're doing. I was very strong-willed at this point. I still am, but I was like a free spirit like I am now. Like, listen to me. We're going to do this. I own this hospital. People come in and out. And
you see the name on this bed? Yeah. This is my
torch. This is my room. But it had to be that way, I think, in a way.
Well, you're 13. That is your life. Yeah. And the world revolves around you when you're 13. Like, it really does. And, like, that's why, like, some of the stuff to you seemed normal because it was part of life for you. Yeah. Like, it's so I want to get to talking about you were actually lucky enough to meet are we jumping the gun? How did you find out like that you were getting a transplant? How did you get the call? Did they call you in bed or they call your parents?
No. Luckily, the one time my mom actually wanted to stay with me that one night, which is, like I said, it was an off night because it should have been my dad, I believe. Yeah. Sometimes they get things a little mumbled. Right. But she got the call, and it's funny because I used to want to eat all this crappy food, and they would give it to me, but I couldn't keep it down just because I was really sick.
Yeah.
I was dying in essence, and they would give it to me, but that one night she told me, no, you can't have mozzarella sticks, and it worked out because they ended up calling her to the desk around 3-4 in the morning on July 6th, so a.m.
Yeah,
and said a heart has come in, but don't tell her yet because they wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, once they knew. My mom tells me, I don't even remember exact emotions because it has been so long now, but I do remember that at this point, it's the holiday weekend.
Yeah.
You're on a holiday staff.
Yeah.
It's July 6th in the middle of the morning. They're bringing me downstairs to the emergency room because you have to do all this testing because there was nobody up there to give me x-rays, EKGs, or whatever this was. And they do all this, and then my dad comes, good family friends of ours that luckily they would come visit me and their kids and whatever the case had may been come, and everybody now is walking me to the OR. I think they said that my parents would be in there. They definitely were. Yeah. But they walked me in, and I remember I have the surgery. My parents wait, and I woke up. You have a tube down your throat because it helps you breathe then after the surgery. And they give you a board because you can't talk. And I think the first thing I wrote on the board was, can I have mozzarella sticks? Because because that was on my head because I wanted it the night before, but it worked out that I didn't have them because this transplant came in. And I was given the gift of life on July 6, 1996. I waited in the hospital 3 months and a day. And after that, I only was in the hospital about a month.
Wow.
Until I got to go home, which is an amazing feeling when you're there for so long.
Right. And not sure if you're ever going to go back home.
And when you get out, you're now able to walk without pumps. You're able to move around again and not have an IV in you. You do get a bunch of biopsies while you're in the hospital and out.
Right.
Where they go through your neck. Even now, I don't have access anymore in my neck for a biopsy just because I've gotten so many.
Okay.
But I was like, wow, I'm not attached to anything.
Yeah.
I don't have something that's making my heart pump. You're taking a lot of pills, and they used to be horse pills and smell really bad.
Right. But it's very different than what you had been getting accustomed to.
You're changing one life for another life, for the gift of life. It's the greatest gift, and it comes with its own territory like anything else. And I will show you some pictures. This is my donor, Matthew, when he was a kid.
It's funny now that you say that, Matthew's who we have on tonight on the Wildflowers.
See, it's a wonderful name.
It's no coincidences. There's no coincidences. So, okay, yeah, see.
And this picture was taken a day before my donor passed.
Oh my God.
He's a gunshot victim. Wrong place, wrong time. There was some friends, that things happen.
Yep.
And this was his stepdad and his sister, and this is him in the middle, but this picture was taken the day before.
So he wasn't even sick. It's not like they were taking a picture like how you guys were taking pictures in the hospital, like any day could be our last day. They literally just were like, let's get a family shot. We're all together. Wow. So how old was he?
He was 14 and I was 13 when I had my
Oh my God. So the heart moved on, like it aged together.
It really did. And
the tissues are right here if you want.
I still, like I said, I still cry to this day.
Because it's so fucking beautiful. I'm going to stop everybody right now. Ever since you were born, it's not a sign of weakness. Crying is a sign that you're alive. Because if a baby's not crying when they're born, there's something wrong.
And I agree to that 100% because you're right. We need these emotions. We need to cry to have happiness. And have all these things. And as we were speaking before, even in private, I feel that crying, even when I speak at places, because I started speaking about my transplant when I was 13, I was shy.
Yeah, but you believed in it enough to get up and talk about it.
Well, my parents did at first. And after that, it was so strange to me because I really understood that somebody passed away for me to be alive at a young age. I learned this kind
it's like reincarnation on Earth, like real reincarnation. Like
somebody's heart beating inside of me because somebody chose the gift of life. And this woman, Vicky, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. That was Matthew's mother. And I received a letter about a year after my transplant.
Okay.
And I'll read it to you. It said, "Dear recipient," and it wasn't just to me, it went to all the recipients because they donated all his organs.
Oh my God, so his body was used, you're not the only person that's walking around enjoying him. Wow, that's amazing.
And she wrote, "I am writing to you in regards to my son Matthew, 14 years old, died July 5th, 96. We donated Matthew's organs to save others, knowing he would have wanted us to if he could have said so. Matthew was such a kind and loving boy of all he knew and even people he really didn't know. Matthew was an honor student, a member of the track and field team. He loved nature, fishing, four-wheeling, and animals. He also believed in the Lord. Matthew was never any trouble to anyone ever, just a very good boy."
The only thing you wrote was the zoo. You wrote about the animals.
There was a lot of stuff now that I've realized that we have so much in common. And I do believe, depending on how you talk to and what they believe, some people feel that there is no coincidence, that you just are who you are.
Oh, absolutely.
But I truly believe that his heart beats with mine, and there are things that we share, and he's my guardian.
Oh, absolutely. And there are decisions that he's helped you make and helped guide you towards.
100%. sense.
100%. Like, it's like that extra, it's like, because they always say you're not the voice in your head, you're just listening to it. But like you said, he's your guardian angel. So that's like this God-like source that's also helping you like make decisions and do the right thing or whatever may be right for you.
Oh, I agree, and that's the hardest part. I think sometimes after transplant, especially so long ago. This July 6th, I'll be celebrating 25 years. Knock on wood.
Yeah, quarter of a century.
And
quarter of a century.
Shameless plug, but July 10th, if anybody wants to come out and come to Coastal.
Yes, I will repost that.
Birthday,
yes.
Please come. It's a celebration of life. I'm part of different organizations. I've been very involved in Long Island Trio since I'm a young girl. They saw me grow up.
Right.
And every year we raise money. We'll do a 50-50 to raise funds for their Rose Garden, which is in Eisenhower Park that everybody could go to. And it honors donors. We have a donor ceremony once a year to honor living and deceased donor families, just to say thank you.
Yeah.
And I remember going back to school, and I was different. Now
right.
I'm on all these drugs. Now I'm a 13-year-old on transplant drugs, on steroids. Wasn't always the best. I either loved you, hated you, was the Hulk. I didn't know what was going on for my parents.
Plus teenager, plus just typical teenage angst.
I'm just a normal teenager as it is.
And you've got the spirit of a teenage boy's heart inside you.
I don't know. And then, people would ask questions. Sometimes somebody asks me, why didn't my mom donate the heart to me? Was I a boy now? And it was a little rough, but I graduated on time in 8th grade, and I went through high school. I have no idea how, by the grace of God. I ended up in resource room. They wanted to just help me. It was
well, yeah, because at that point, it really is. It's like what matters in life, and I think that's why you're the person you are, because you've been through something so traumatic, so crazy that it's like, don't sweat the small stuff.
No,
why are we going to stress over other people's baggage and all these things you don't have when you focus on all the good things that you do have?
And I love your perspective on life and just your energy about it, because it's so true. You go back, and as you were talking about even before, we all want to be with the Joneses sometimes.
Right.
And we see things, and when I speak, it's for me to honor my donor, but it also humbles me because I get into that mode of everyday life.
Right, and the world revolves around us, and every little thing does upset you and whatever. But then you take a step back and you're like, oh, well, I'm breathing, I'm here, I have a roof over my head, I have dirty clothes to wash, I have
all these things, and that's why when I was younger, they would ask me to speak at like the American Heart Association or Long Island Trio, and actually, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to speak in front of people of 5 people in an audience to 2,000, whether it be for the New York Blood Center.
Comedians. She's worked bigger rooms than most of us, by the way. Now she's not dropping names.
Face, depending upon who it is, if it's a doctor or if it's everyday people, and you put on your 5-minute, 10-minute, hour story.
Your type 5 or your out.
And my mom used to joke, though, because when I was young, I'd be nervous. And even I remember her talking to Joe Torre, Frank Torre, and they would say, oh, well, if, the Backstreet Boys were here, then she'd be speaking, I probably still wouldn't be speaking. But I've been a part of such phenomenal organizations. As I said, Long Island Trio, American Heart Association, Live on New York. I've been into the Transplant Games of America. Later in life, because I said, growing up, I was nuts. I still am crazy. I said, you're going to put me with 1,000 to 10,000 transplant recipients playing games? I'm crazy enough. I don't know if I can handle this.
Yeah, all these twice-born people, because it's all these people that have been revitalized and feel like they could have done, the guy that was blind and now has eyes, I don't want to play against him. Yeah. That guy's a maniac.
And I lucked out that, I'm against real competitors. I'm not exactly the best. I signed up for tennis, and when I played my first games in Houston, Texas, it was kind of like the Hunger Games of transplant. Well, it's 150 degrees. Let's hope that nobody passes out. Some people in my category did. I won a medal. It's fine, because that's the nice thing. You walk around, you say, there's a medal. It's a little upset, I'm not going to lie, this year that the games were supposed to be last year. They got postponed. So I didn't get to go because of COVID, but that's okay. Things happen, and as you said, it's all about perspective. So there'll be other games to go to.
She'll beat your ass when she gets there. Once they hold those games.
I don't know about that,
But she's
I
going to be
tried.
a competitor.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to really practice and get it going. Maybe some cornhole. I think that's gonna be my next sport.
Oh, cornhole's great.
Yeah. So if everybody out there, let's play some cornhole this summer. I think that's gonna be my next thing. But you never know with me. I feel that I live many lives in one life and change.
Right.
But I do remember every time I spoke, no matter where it was, whether it was from Jersey Sharing Network or Trio at high schools, because I've been humbled enough to be able to do that too, speak in high schools. I always said that I wanted to be my donor mom. What am I going to say to this woman that gave me the gift of life? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I would say that every time I spoke. That's how I would end. Live life to the fullest every day because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I want to meet my donor mom. So finally, after years, I'm speaking years of talking about it, I was very fortunate that I had a fire in my house, actually, which is not the fortunate.
Yeah,
part,
really fortunate. This is how great she looks at life.
Yeah,
This is the silver lining.
Came out of it.
Right? No,
a good thing,
right. No coincidences.
And I
okay.
bump around, as my friends know, if you read my text messages, I will kind of, my head bumps around very frequently. We had the fire, but at that point, my dad knew enough to take certain things and put them in the shed.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everything else was lost. You lost pictures. I only have a certain amount of pictures or what people give me now because it's that stuff. You lose all your memories.
Right.
Just a side note, when I got there, I was actually speaking in Albany. My brother texted me, I think there's a fire in the house. I'm like, I don't know, leave. I'm in Albany speaking on organ donation.
Stop dropping roll. I
said, I don't know what to do. He wasn't even home. My parents still got out. My dad had some smoke inhalation, but everybody was okay. The dog, my mom. And they actually called to ask my parents, but one thing everybody wants, they ran in to get my preemie doll that my nanny got me when I was 1 year old. So that's the one thing I still have from the fire. But after this, my dad's going through the stuff in the shed. We go through it. We were writing back and forth to my donor mom, trying to find her. We never got a response back.
Yeah.
But back then, there were different umbrellas for UNOS, which is the United Network for Organ Sharing.
Okay.
Where now it's under one big umbrella.
Okay.
And we take this letter that she had sent me. John Volpe puts it up to the light. He sees, actually, I'm sorry, my ex puts it up to the light.
Yeah.
And I can name names. I'm not Tom Bulger. And he goes, there's an address on there. We tell John. John looks it up. We find my donor's cousin.
Wow.
On Facebook. He writes me back. Now, there's some questions going back and forth.
Right.
We figure out that it's him. I remember my donor's brother. We called each other on the phone. I was going to a Phillies game, ironically enough, for another organ donation event with one of my friends that had a transplant. We were speaking on the phone, coming back for 2-3 hours. We're talking, and I just didn't even know what to say, but it felt natural.
Yeah.
Then I finally speak to my donor mom on the phone. We just both started crying.
Oh my God, yeah.
We didn't even speak.
It's like, I know.
Yeah, and we're just crying because it had been so long. Because I only met her about 5-6 years ago now.
Oh my God.
She said, I've been writing to you. I said, I've been writing to you. It just wasn't going to the right place because it wasn't in one umbrella at the time.
Oh my God.
And all of a sudden, then things kind of went very fast. I meet them on the phone. We're talking about meeting. So my daughter mom's like, can you come to Florida? There's reasons I go down there. Now I'm thinking, I'm like, this was not long ago, but how am I going to get to Florida in like a week?
Yeah.
How is this going to happen?
Right.
All of a sudden, I have people that I met at the transplant games and friends who's like, they're going to do GoFundMe to try to get me there. So they do this GoFundMe because tickets. Now, first of all, I'm going to meet her, and we didn't even think about this. On Valentine's Day, which is National Donor Day, but it's a holiday. So tickets to go fly anywhere are crazy expensive.
But you just happen to plan it on National Donor Day, which is not a coincidence. Again, right. The moment today is what we got. Let's do it as fast as possible.
And my hospital got a hold of it. The news got a hold of it. Daily News is interviewing me. Newsday is interviewing me. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to meet the donor mom. What do I say?
Get out of my face. I'm trying to pack.
I'm not sleeping. And I was so humbled that everybody was involved with it.
Yeah.
And again, there are certain protocols. So this is not normal. Usually both parties have to write back and forth to each other and then make the decision, because you know what? A donor could be ready to meet a recipient. Donor family, a recipient may not be ready, vice versa.
Right.
But this just happened to be the way the universe was us to meet. And
yeah.
now when I think about it, I think it had to happen this way because we both were able to live our lives, grieve the way we needed to.
Right.
And then meet each other. And the one thing I remember now, as I said, they're coming. I think the Daily News was on the plane with me. My ex had come down with me to Florida. Everybody had spent money to get me there, and people I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Which, this is the kindness of strangers that I've received throughout my life and still receive, and my friends in general and my family. I can never repay anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm eternally grateful. But now I'm on this plane, now haven't slept, all this big whirlwind stuff's happening, and I get to Florida. My donor mom is there, and the first thing we do, she hugs me, which is this Tim Boyles, who is an amazing photographer, takes this picture.
Oh my God.
First thing she did was put her head against my chest.
Oh, can't beat this life story.
No, and there's a YouTube video of her listening to his heartbeat.
Oh my God.
I remember us just smiling, and this is
and you could tell that's at the airport. Like,
yes, that was when we first met. This was the first picture that, as I said,
sweet.
Tim Boyles took, and it's just a phenomenal picture. And after this, just a little FYI, he got many recipients that were meeting donor families to take the pictures from it.
Yeah.
We were just thrilled.
Yeah.
And when she ended up, I had a friend that gave me a stethoscope, and she listened to his heartbeat, and she said, "That's my boy."
Yeah.
And it is. And when you think about things, sometimes it really is even hard for myself to think about that I have this heart beating inside me almost 25 years through good and bad. And for me, it's just the gift of life. And for many people that have been with me through this whole journey, they've seen I've been very sick. I've been healthy, as we all do in life.
Right.
I say that, and people say to me, "Oh, I'm inspiring, or I do this." I said, "No, my journey is just my journey. I share because this is the way that I know how to."
Right.
But everybody has a story, and we all need to share our stories because you never know who you're going to help.
Right. That's how I feel about this show. It's like just one person. If just one person you grab, it's like that's all that matters. Like, and it's having feedback from random people over the time has made me want to keep doing this. Like, or else it'd be like, oh, it should. You do things for yourself, but you do need the support of others. It feels useless kind of without the like group mentality. Like, it's like to be involved. I mean, I know you're a huge Disney person and like the magic of Disney, and that's loving people and loving that's. So you're going to Disney soon, right?
I am very fortunate that I am going. I mean, my Make-A-Wish trip was Disney. I've been going. I hate to say it this way, but I think I was conceived in Disney, even though I think the stork brought me. But I've been going since I was even.
I've been going to Disney before I was even.
Yeah, I mean, I was one, two, and Make-A-Wish trip. I was always going. And my friend Dennis too has been fortunate, has been going with me, and Dara surprised me. And I mean, my friends are amazing. Kristen, Bonnie, everybody I can name. I mean, my bosses at Coasters, Vinny, Joanne. If I start naming everybody, I'll be here for hours.
I know, you can't.
I have a big Philly love. Just so you know, if I didn't name you, it's because I love you all. Really,
I know. I always write, you know who you are. Because it's like,
you all know who you are. You're my friend that came and drove me here. You know who you are. Everybody knows who they are. But I am going to Disney, and I will only be there for a day and a half.
Oh my God.
To me, it will be the best day and a half. She said to me, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I'm like, "Go to Disney, and I'll be in Epcot for a couple hours, and Magic Kingdom." Dara, sorry, we're going to be there starting at 8 a.m. to at night. And July 1st, though, the fireworks start, which just means if anybody out there, we need to go back to Disney because I come back a day or two before the fireworks start again.
Okay.
But I also love horror, so I confuse people. I have a baby collection next to Winnie the Pooh doll in my apartment. I don't really know what's going on in my head, but that's okay. I don't know.
We don't have to choose. That's the beauty of life.
It's true. People ask, what's your favorite color? I don't know. It depends on the day. I just think I can never make a firm decision except for certain things. Like Disney, I'm always gonna love. But
that's not a hard decision.
I'm always gonna love. You know, it's just things change and we evolve. And even I was able during COVID to get my 200-hour certification in yoga, and I really got to get back to it.
Oh, that's awesome.
They changed my life too in a way. 4.5 years ago, I was very sick. I was back in the hospital with a swan tube, and I will say my friend Vinny, Danielle, Sal, everybody from the bar came right away. Yeah. They knew, though. I knew I wasn't feeling great, and I know in my life at some point I probably will need a second transplant, but it wasn't my time, I think. And I got there, and the thing being an adult, it's very hard to sign off yourself to need a transplant. I had to sign everything again and say, I'm making this decision, but I wasn't ready to give up this heart yet. And I think I'll know when, and I think Matthew will too. But that's why I guess this year is so special, because I know how important life is. And at some point, I might need a second heart or third heart, depending upon how you look at it. So I'm going to live every day, whether people like it or not like it, and just live it up. Because when I was in the hospital again with a swan in my neck, not being able to shower, not being able to move, being told that I could wait a year maybe in a hospital with my blood type.
And you understood this when you were a kid. When you were 13, you knew the process, but you didn't comprehend the process. And now you're 20s, late 20s, it's like, what the fuck is going on now? Yeah, so it's like going on, like, literally what is going, that's, now it's the impact of what is happening is really real, and, you understood it.
And the comedians, I will say, you all, people were doing fundraisers and things like that, and that's the thing with transplant world, though. It's, you never know what's happening. One day you're fine, one day you cannot be fine, and then you could be okay again. And then you might not be. And everyone's different. People have their transplants 5 years and need a second one. People I've seen pass away. My good friend Larry that I talked about while I was in the hospital, he passed away about a month after I had my transplant.
Oh, so before he even got one.
And it's just, you never know.
Yeah.
And even for me, I don't know. I think with the grace of God, yoga, prayer, whatever you believe in, I'm okay for this moment. How long will I ride this wave? I can't tell you, but I'm going to enjoy it. And it's hard sometimes I don't want to call you guys civilians, but.
Oh, we are. And it's funny, you're a civilian to me because I'm a comedian. We're a different breed, but you transplant people.
Yeah, we're like
you recipients are your own
breed of people, and that's why it's hard to place people that you could literally be in death's door and then maybe be okay, but then you could not be okay, or you could look okay, and it's such a complicated life, but it's the only life we know.
Right.
And sadly, New York has the lowest numbers of people signed up as registered organ donors. And you think, we're New York, we're proud. Look at during COVID, New York strong.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost a joke. Like at the transplant case, like, oh, you're from New York?
It's like, people. Yeah, you freaking selfish bastards that are trying to take your organs. Where are you going with your organs, dude? With your life?
I don't, and I'm not that person. Like, even when I speak, I'm not gonna lock you in if you don't become an organ donor. I will share my story.
But I might lock you in.
I might lock you in. And you never know. But maybe
I'm just gonna try to persuade you with my story.
We'll see what happens with that. And even just in general, just to show people, let's say there's roughly 120, 130,000 people waiting for a transplant right now in the U.S. Maybe 20,000 people a year get that.
Yeah.
So now that puts you in 3 categories. 1, you're still waiting at home. 2, you're waiting in the hospital. Or the third one, which people don't like to talk about, you passed away because, for me, it's no good reason because there's not enough organ donors.
Right.
And I don't love to be that person, but it really can be your best friend. It could be your child.
Yeah.
There's babies that need transplants. There's grandparents that need transplants.
Right.
You never know who it's going to affect.
Right. Until someone in your family needs an organ, and then you realize the impact.
And even my donor mom, back then, it wasn't heard of
Oh
doing
my
it
God, yeah, it
ornaments.
was not like Vogue. It was not like a big, because now you see on the internet people.
Yeah.
I saw actually something super moving. It was a girl's dad had passed away, but he donated his heart, and the gentleman who received the heart walked her down the aisle. So
I saw
so
that.
her dad's heart, went down the aisle with her, and it's like it is that man is still living his life, but part of you and Matthew, like part of Matthew is still here right now, like it's not, it doesn't take away from Jennifer, but it adds to, you know what I mean? It's I can see why we're not normal people to you. Why
I'm not normal
why
either. So that's it. It just it's a very like you said. I'm a civilian to you guys because I love my comedians, but I'm the bartender that's the comedian.
Yeah, I'm a critic and I'm a laugher.
I'm a laugher, but that's not my job. I will serve you whatever you want. And I am so appreciative of that community because it really is such a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And the friends that I made through it, and just laughing in general. Even back when I was weeding in the hospital as a kid, they were bringing the clowns.
Yeah.
That's why I love the circus.
Yeah.
Little things. But even years ago, when they had one of the fundraisers, they told me 4.5 years ago that I could go home for maybe a week. Like, okay. I came back. They were doing one of the fundraisers. Actually, the comedians were there. Like Keegan, a bunch of them, and doing it. And then a week turned into a little bit longer, and they still don't know to this day, and I don't know either why I'm still here. But
it's not your time. It is not your time.
And as I said, I'm gonna live it up. I mean, today I was able to come on your show, which I was so thankful to be on.
And this is groundbreaking here at Calamity Jones' house. We've never done a pre-recorded episode. Glenn's been trying to talk me into doing it, and thank you, Glenn, for being the reason that really. Oh, and I always say, this is my husband Glenn in spirit, but he's not dead, and I didn't even do that today because it was. He's always here, but it really is. It's I don't believe in coincidences. The first joke I ever told, not on stage, but recorded, so like on my YouTube, my first stand-up ever is I went to the car dealership and I hand the guy my license. He goes, "Ooh, organ donor." And I said, "Not yet." And like that, and then here we are, you're like, I don't know why I'm here. It's like, because I needed to tell that joke. I needed a reason that joke needed to come to full light.
You're welcome. My transplant,
if anything you could do, 2 minutes to shine, baby. That's all I need.
I got you. Whatever you need.
We're coming full, but everything comes full circle. Like, it really does. Like, that's how I feel about this kind of stuff. Like, he was telling me, like, oh, you should do the pre-recorded. I'm like, oh, the whole thing is it's live. And I'm like, but then there's, like, people who I'll never be able to get out on Friday night. And I'm like Jen, who I've been wishing and hoping that we could tell this story. And I'm glad nobody's here because I'm fucking bawling all time.
I'm bawling too.
And they'll watch it and afterwards, and it doesn't take away from the experience.
Not at all. That's just it. The experience that we're having this way, and then the people that get to watch it, it's just a different experience.
Right.
That's one thing I've learned throughout life, that you don't always have to fit into that box.
Right.
Octagon's okay. Maybe a pentagon, I don't know, whatever other circle.
Yeah, I mean, you had it.
Shape you like.
You had the kitty baby shower, and I love that because I'm like, there are women that cannot have kids. I choose not to have children, and it's like, do you get to, so you rob them of the gender reveal party and all these little rituals that are American, and when the holidays go by, you go, oh, I don't have my thing. But I'm like, hey, on the 14th, I only got a date. I didn't get a transplant. I'm not a recipient. I don't get to celebrate because I'm not an organ donor recipient. I'm an organ donor, but not yet. So we all have our shit. If you look at what everybody else has, you lack. You always will lack if you look at everybody else.
You're right, because even with that, as you said, my cat shower, which again, this just goes to show you
how ridiculous.
I can't name everybody because I
love it.
I feel, how some people get married, or if you're married, or they have one boyfriend or girlfriend. I feel like I just have a village.
A clan.
I have a clan of people. I have
we're more of a horde.
Yeah, I have a horde of people, so you could all be my husband's wives, boyfriends, girlfriends.
Yeah, I'm taking gifts. I'm taking balloons. Taking easy pass tickets to Disney. Fast pass tickets to Disney.
My friends came together. I mean, Danielle, Dara, Kristen, everybody just coming together, making this Christy the shower, which who thinks of that? Like to do a cat shower. But since I'm young, they always told me that I also have PCOS and other things that
What does that stand for? I'm sorry.
polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay, so it's...
Which would be hard for me to have kids in general.
Okay.
I've had my transplant drugs. And
it's
just
like not
factor.
it's like a lot on your body anyways.
And
like
there are many recipients that have kids. Well, I can't say many, but there are recipients
that conceive children
that
and the kids are healthy.
But they told me that they have to take you off transplant drugs.
It'd be a whole fucking thing.
Risk factor. And my feeling was, so God forbid now I could pass while carrying this child, or I could pass while having this child,
or the baby is born and you leave them with a motherless child young, like, because like they're all three of those are really hard situations. They're all really hard situations.
Yes, and everybody's a different perspective. I have many friends that have had transplants, have kids,
right? Because that's on their list, that's on their checklist. It was what you were saying, keeping up with the Joneses, like what matters to you, and what is maybe their risk factors, they were lower, and they were like, I'm having a baby, and with hormones and all these things, there are people that aren't recipients of transplants that take all sorts of organs. They take hormones and all this stuff. They're putting all sorts of shit together. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I'm not a complete scientist, but I'm up to something. I know a lot about.
But you're 100% right. Just talking about it and almost normalizing. I think they should normalize things, because I will talk real here. You know what? I do get butthurt sometimes when I'm getting the wedding invitations and baby shower invitations, and sometimes I do not go to these functions.
Yeah, I don't feel like being there.
But that's my own issue, and I think for me, because sometimes it wasn't a choice.
Yep.
It is hard, and I apologize out there to anybody if it seemed that I had shunned your thing. It's not that I don't love you.
Right.
But we all have something that we have to deal with. And for baby showers, bridal showers, wedding showers are very hard, and I'm trying to get better at it.
Right. But I know that when that baby is born, you're going to grab it and kiss it and hug it and love it. It's just that whole ceremony and the ritual is hard, because it's like it puts you in that moment of like, oh, well, I'm not sitting in a chair and people handing me gifts, even though they were, because you had a kiddie shower. But that whole thing, it's a whole performance that we put on. And then you got all the pictures of it just to show like who wasn't invited. Like I have a friend, her son, she would not let him have Facebook until he was in high school, because she understood until he was out of high school. And she said, because I'm on Facebook, and as a grown woman, she goes, I see my friends getting together and I feel left out, and I don't want that going on to my little kid's psyche. Like, because everyone's hanging out. Who's ever hanging out is taking pictures together. If you didn't take a picture of it, it didn't fucking happen. And if it doesn't get posted, it didn't happen. And it's like, and it's so much of it's manufactured. Like, oh, we have to write a short eulogy for your child. Every time they're there, oh, the brightest shining star I've ever met. 25 years ago, I was blessed with the greatest. No, when she was a teenager, she fucking made you want to rip your hair out. And you're putting on a fucking show for the Facebook.
I love that you call this a Facebook, but it's so true, because Facebook could be great and it could not be so great.
Right.
And there could be taunting either way. And, and that's crazy how these kids, like you said, that she didn't even want her son on it, because there could be so much stuff.
Right, because it's like those are the parties that you left out of, and and it's like, that's why I don't even put any personal stuff on my stuff. I'll cry on stage and do this, but like my personal stuff, because it's like, then when I'm hanging out with a friend and I forget to take a selfie with them, it's like, well, why didn't you take a selfie with me when we hung out? And it's because I only do comedy fucking shit on my thing. Like, I don't fucking know. I'm sorry, fucking. I'm trying to keep it.
Why are you out? Why are you doing this?
Where was my invite? What happened to this? Why? I thought you said you were bored. I thought you said nothing was going on. I thought it's like, and like, even like you not
your mind.
Exactly. And it's like, it's just so crazy of how much pressure is out there, and at least we're like top of the game because at least we're at least realizing it. There are
Yeah.
people that just go on the phone, internalize it, and don't even fucking know that they're subconsciously raging out.
Oh, I know it. I know I'm one of those people. I mean, like I said, I take my cat shower.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like I'm doing my thing.
Yeah, and I will say that I do realize now the silliness of a shower, because when I was sitting in that chair opening gifts with a sash on and tiara, I realized why people love it.
But how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, I realized both perspectives of it, but I posted it in some of my cat groups, and some of these women were saying, like, you know, like, I'm not having kids. I wish my friends would normalize it. So maybe we are going to normalize cat showers.
Yeah, if nothing else tonight. Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever shower you want. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, celibacy shower.
Yeah, celibacy. You know what? Even like if you don't get married, why not have a friend's party? Just party it.
Right, exactly. Just go all out for one of your birthdays and go
Yeah.
do a destination birthday party or fucking. It's like it doesn't matter. Like our odds of winning are a lot higher when we write our own rules.
I mean, if you ask Vinny, the owner of Coasters, what parties I have come up with and what stuff we have done there every year. It's a celebration. This year is my silver anniversary, so it's all about silver and. I guess silver and hearts this year because that was what I kind of had to go with that theme.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else kind of works, but I've had all sorts of, whether it be beach bashes, Disney bashes, chocolate fountains. I've had
and yours in costumes.
Potato bars, costumes, onesies. You never know. But this year, like I said, I'm trying to keep it to the silver heart theme just because of it was given to me. I mean, I can't change it. It's 25 years. That's what it is. So
we're gonna work with that theme. Yeah. We're gonna work within the confines of that theme.
You know, you have to. For me, that's what I love, and just going throughout the years, I just still can't believe it sometimes, and that's why when people will ask me on occasion, why do you do what you do, or what adventure are you going on now? I mean, whether it be meeting a llama, or meeting a rhino, or going to Disney at the drop of the hat, because I know what it's like to. Okay, you're back in the hospital world and we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you won't be here tomorrow.
Right.
You got to enjoy it. And even just going through life, like I have a picture and people realize it's either I was very heavy growing up. I've gone through very different weight things. Honestly, as most of you know, and I'll be candid about it, I'm bald. I don't have hair. Hence why you'll see me with that hair was horrible. Yeah, that was called draw-on hair, and my dad used to hate it because it was spray-on also, and it would get everywhere. And I was heavier in there with spray-on hair because I lost it. Yeah. And that's why you'll see me. Right now I'm a blonde. Maybe I'm a redhead. And I'm getting more okay with it. Not okay to the point that I'm going to shave my head yet fully. Yeah. Because it grows like, I look like an old man, per se. And I don't mean it offensively to any old men.
We love you, old men. Yes, yeah, but
I got gout again, like 12 years ago as an old man.
That's all Matthews. That's all Matthew. We're gonna blame Matthew for all that shit.
Drugs, so even when in the hospital, he's like, "That's old man, rich man disease."
That's Matthew coming out, showing his spirit. An old rich man.
Just as you were saying, even with Facebook and your grandson, your grandson is on there with different things, you do get judged. Yeah. And just going through life, like I said, I've been tinier. I've been heavy. At my peak, I weighed almost 225 pounds. Yeah, and that's like not how I envision you, but that's still you. And yeah, it's still like it's like I've had my spray-on hair. I'll wear hats. That's why too. If anybody hats are always. Oh, you are always in hats. That's cute. Yeah. That's always a perk for me. Just saying. Your Islanders hat. Tonight's an Islander game too, guys. We gotta win this. We could potentially, if we win, play this game now. The next one for Game 7, which Islanders too has been such a great group to me. My BOA, Drive for 5. Everybody in these groups, we have viewing parties. I'm fortunate to go because Javolpi's like the fairy godfather of Islander tickets. And I've been fortunate enough to go. Even when I was in the hospital 4.5 years ago, one of the nurses came in and got me Islander glasses. Because she knew I was a fan. Yeah. And I have a priest that's a friend of mine that's been in the hospital since back when I had my transplant. And we still talk to each other on a regular basis. He's 91 years old, but he's a big Rangers fan. But he'll still say, especially now, Jen, I say a prayer for you every day, and the Islanders to get this. So we have a priest on our side, and we have the game tonight. And today I have the wig on. But yeah, you will see me. That's why sometimes you'll be like, oh, is that Jen? Yeah, because when I got my hair, I keep my baby hairs on so I can wear my hats. That's why I like them. Makes it easier and stuff. Also, it's just freeing. It's like for a girl when you take it off.
Oh yeah, it's like
taking off a bra.
Exactly, yeah, it's restrictive.
I will share a funny story from the bar. Guys for some reason are fascinated with pom poms on hats and hair of girls. I don't know why, guys.
Yeah, men are weird with hair.
I don't get it, but I had a customer, I won't name the name, wanted that pom pom. He wanted to play with that pom pom. I said, look, dude, I know what's under here. Let's have we don't play with it. Hair comes off, hat comes off, runs out. I was shocked. But he came back, like a year later, and I got a nice tip, so that was good. But it's just how it is.
Don't touch people's pom poms, people.
Yeah, and that's one thing. If anybody, I always wanted to start like a cheap human hair wig line. If anybody knows how to do anything like that, because everyone deserves hair, and that was too hard growing up because I was bigger, going through all these changes, but people always thought I had cancer.
Yeah.
Or alopecia, but I had my eyebrows. I mean, my eyebrows are usually on point, but I have a lady, Lisa, that does them. Is amazing, and I didn't have either. My transplant drugs and PCOS, I lost it.
Yeah.
So there's so many reasons why you could even lose your hair. That bothered me more than my transplant.
Right.
My scar still.
Right. No, but it's
because you could see it.
It goes, honestly, we've been talking for over an hour, so I'm going to let you.
Sorry.
No, you're perfect. You're perfect. No, but it goes back to just really what society wants us to look like. You're supposed to have the Rapunzel hair. You're supposed to have every different style. Oh, God forbid you wear a blonde wig, but you should platinum dye your hair fake blonde. Like, what's the fucking difference there, ladies? Like, let's be serious.
Right.
Like, there's all these things, and everyone's got their own shit. There's so many girls that can't talk sports. You can talk sports.
Islanders, and that's about the only thing that I could talk to you about. And this was the first show that I even talked. I mean, most people know I wear wigs at this point, but this is the first show that I actually said.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you shared that, because I have a friend with alopecia, and it really bothers her because she's like, I don't want to be doing this young. She's not even 30 yet, and and that's why you felt like you needed to say it. I think for her. See? Because she needed to.
This is going full circle. I feel very comfortable.
because she talks to me about it, and she's like. She'll like, I'll be putting my hair up in a sloppy bun. Like, I'm like, is it too much? Is it too frizzy? I'm trying to, because it's too much. It looks wild. And she's like, I wish I had that much hair. And I'm like, and you've got the biggest tits, and we're all lacking, if we look at others. I know, honestly, and there is a place over here in Deer Park. I'll tell you about it off air, but. You are such a doll. I'm so thankful that I got to have you on the show. The pre-recorded episode. Everyone will see this on Friday night. You'll be working, making some money. And I cried my heart out, but it's really just because you have such a beautiful story. I didn't even want to crack jokes. I just wanted to get the truth out there, which is that you're a beautiful lady living life.
Thank you. And the one thing, if I could tell you everybody, is really live life to the fullest every day, because you never know what tomorrow brings. Carpe diem. And if you're not an organ donor, just think about it, because one question I will ask people, and I'll end with this: if you needed an organ, would you take it? And if your answer is yes, then you really should think about
being an organ donor.
An organ donor too.
Yeah, there you go. So she checks IDs at Coasters before she gives you a drink, so you better have a little heart on that ID because everyone should be an organ donor, because seriously, guys, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it when you're done? But you could continue life. And Jennifer Lentini, we adore you. Everybody loves you so much in the Long Island comedy scene. I can speak on behalf of all of them. And you are just such a joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. This was our first pre-recorded episode. That's it.